Yeah, I was asked to tell you a little bit about our approach, venture as a service, which we are doing with HDI. That's the third largest insurance group from Germany, sixth largest in Europe. And for them, we have a very special and not that common approach that we serve as an external corporate venture unit for large corporate. And the way how we do it is what I'd like to show you now. So maybe really quick regarding me. I'm already 20 years in the startup ecosystem, and I had the luck to have three perspectives on that. One is, of course, the venture capital perspective. Second, I've been working for corporates in order to help them work with startups, cooperate with startups, and invest in startups. And last but not least, I was in a startup myself. So I know the challenges of a startup working with large corporates from a first hand. Maschmeyer Group, for those who do not know us, is the family office of a well-known guy from Germany, Carsten Maschmeyer. He became very successful as an entrepreneur himself, and since then he's investing in startups via various activities. We have three funds, actually one more fund who is not active anymore. We invest in early stage startups in Europe, and we also invest in pre-seed and seed startups in the US. These are the activities MGV and Seed and Speed. And we also have a later stage fund here in Germany called Upskilling Capital, where we invest Series A and onwards. So we have a global deal flow and with our own funds. And as I said, we started to work for large corporate HDI. And the way we do it, I will show later on. That's what we call managed venture capital and scouting as a service. And due to the fact that we're almost 30 investment professionals, we kind of created so-called competence centers for legal, for sales, for PR, which we provide our startups as an additional value, and also we provide to our to HDI as a corporate. All right, so I probably can skip this one because everybody knows that's why you're sitting here. Why does it make sense to work with startups? Because they disrupt our industries, and therefore it's an imperative to cooperate with them, to work with them. That's why we're sitting here. So that's easy sell. What I realized in our discussions here is one of the big challenges. If you, as a corporate, decide to work with startups, first, it's really key to think about what is the goal of this working with startups. And there's a lot of goals, as you see here. Yeah, these are typical goals which are mentioned, and all goals are valid. Yeah, there is no right, there is no wrong, but it's important that the corporate takes the decision, because that's the key and the anchor point from where you derive what kind of instrument would fit to your specific needs. Yeah, and since we're talking about corporate venture capital, this is the key elements, the strategic value, because the financial return, as we heard from other speakers as well, obviously it has to be there. Yeah, but that's not the reason why you do corporate venture capital. Because if the financial return is the only what you need, you better go to the capital market and invest in a large fund, and that's it. Yeah, so we're talking about these strategic goals. Based on the goals, there's a whole variety of instruments on how you can engage. Yeah, we heard them already quite a bit. Again, every instrument has a valid benefit. There's pros, there's cons. At the end, it depends on your goals, on which instrument is the right one for your specific need. Here, we want to talk about corporate venture capital, so I assume everybody here in the room already thought about it and plans to do or is already active in corporate venture capital. So in order to make it really successful, and that's a perspective if you start a corporate venture fund. Yeah, if you're already active in there, it's a different ballgame. But if you want to do it, there's, we think, 6 key elements and success factors you actually have to meet. You need to bring, obviously, venture capital experience to the place. Yeah. Secondly, you should know your industry. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You should somehow organize, and you already were talking about it, how to get access to corporate assets. You need to have deal flow, of course, and a network, because the best deals usually come from your network. There should be first experience with corporate venture capital. And last but not least, you need an operating model. And that's one of the key elements which have been talked before quite a bit. And because there is like the critical element which enables you to really derive these strategic values. So by nature, if you're a corporate and start corporate venture capital for the first time, you bring only part of these requirements to the table. Obviously, the industry expertise, you could organize access to the assets, and you should somehow fix a operating model. But at the end, you also have to define what kind of horizon you're looking at. Yeah? The industry expertise is quite helpful if you're talking about Horizon 1 topics. But the more you plan to go into the future and learn about new markets, new technologies, or disruptive technologies, actually the expertise in the house is not always there, or even you have people who do not really want these topics, and therefore they block them. So second, these two issues about access to corporate access on the operating model needs to be thoroughly defined. Yeah, when you start your activities, it's really key to think about these elements, define it, because usually these decisions last for a very long time until you for the time of your funds, but you need to define them at the very beginning. So the other three key elements are the ones obviously you're missing as a corporate if you start. The venture expertise, network, deal flow, strategic CVC experience. And this is some, yeah, I mean, obviously, you start with these activities and do not have any expertise. You do not have people. You don't have the skill set. You need to hire a lot of people. That usually takes time, so it's not easy to start. With the deal flow, it's the same. Since you haven't been active in this field, you do not have the deal flow, except maybe some elements from your business units, and you do not have the network. And third, the experience, it's obviously the first time you do that, and accordingly, there's a lot of learning curves required. So therefore, from our point of view, or what we've seen when we worked with HDI, it was, why not combining things? Yeah, so complement the skills which you bring to the table as a corporate, and combine it with a venture as a service expert like us. Yeah, so and there you bring both elements to the table, and you add the best of two worlds: your corporate expertise, your industry expertise, but also you add the venture capital expertise. Yeah, and this is something we do for them. How does that look like? I mean, at the end, we have a large deal flow. We're active in that field, and we help corporates to navigate through this global startup ecosystem. On the one hand, this is something what we call tailored scouting based on the specific needs. That could be a special vertical, that could be a special function. And we apply our pure VC, financial-driven perspective on screening the deal flow. We reduce this global complexity and provide that to the corporate, and the corporate at the end has to decide what to do with it. And as I said, there's no right, no wrong. It depends on your instruments. You can just see this is a typical scouting. Yeah, this is market intelligence. You can learn, you can cooperate, and at the end you can also invest. And we help our corporate partners to kind of go through this process. We give benchmark learnings from other corporates and facilitate this whole process. How does it look like? At the end, this is a typical VC process. You have to scout the startups, you have to evaluate them, you have to do the due diligence for the most promising ones, do the investment, and at the end, manage the portfolio companies throughout the time. And the way we do it with the HDI, for instance, is that we always work as a tandem. We bring the pure VC view to the table up there. So we leverage our deal flow. We usually have over 8,000 startups, which we screen every year globally. We do the fit from a pure financial driven perspective. So no strategic elements. This is the pure VC view. We help the corporate structure the deal. We give recommendations on what's the right valuation, how should the contracts look like. We make sure that corporate lawyers do not ask for crazy things, or corporate M&A departments. So we make sure this is a typical pure play venture capital deal. And at the end, we manage the portfolio also in a typical VC manner. But as I said, we do that in a tandem because we usually run through the process with partners from our corporate partner. Yeah? That could be somebody from legal during the contract phase. That could be somebody from M&A, but that could also be somebody from the business unit, because at the end, during this phase, evaluating and the due diligence, of course, we leverage the corporate resources in order to gain insights, because obviously often they're potential customers or experts. So we use this knowledge to make a better and more thorough due diligence and get some feedback from them as a potential customer. At the end, in our specific setup, it's the corporate, our partner, who does the decision on the investments. But at the end, this process, more or less, can be structured, tailored to what the corporate actually wants. Yeah? There's different models thinkable that we manage a fund fully by ourselves and decide on them. We can do investments from the balance sheet, or the partner has a fund who decides on the investment. Yeah, and of course here, this one is a key element. Why should you invest in startups? Not because you just want to see only the deal flow. You always want to see how startups are evolving, how they're acting, how they kind of deal with the market or a technology. And therefore, it's very important in this phase to have a link to the corporate and the corporate resources. And the way we do it is that we have ambassadors from the corporate serve in advisory boards, for instance, to ensure this knowledge transfer. Why does it make sense to work with us? That was the decision back then when this corporation started. First, we have a lot of insurance expertise. That was, of course, very important as a vertical knowledge element for our partner. Second, we have a long-term track record with our venture funds. Our venture funds are very successful. And we have a team of a lot of people everywhere in Europe, Israel, and the US. That's this global deal flow, how we generate it, because we have a lot of people there and a strong network. And last but not least, we have a track record in doing exactly that. We have done it. We have a lot of learnings on that. And that's quite helpful if we could or would set up something like that as new. And that's it already. So, thanks.